Building Docker images with Dockerfiles. So far we've gained a good understanding of key Docker concepts and used Docker to create our own image based on one shared in the community. In this section we're going to look at how images are built using the standard Dockerfile tool. We're going to build a simple image with a Dockerfile, download, configure and build a much more complicated Dockerfile, and understand caching and layering in Dockerfile builds. By the end, we'll have built our own copy of themortgagemeter.com, the website that's our day job in this course, and have a good understanding of Dockerfile commands. We've been getting behind at work because we're playing too much 2048, but Docker will help us catch up by making our build process more reliable and efficient. Before we start, let's have a look at our website so we can get a feel for where we're headed. Type themortgagemeter.com into your browser, and you should see a simple website that displays information about mortgages. This website is built from multiple technologies using Django, JavaScript, AngularJS, Python, and so on. That's a lot of technologies to set up if we're going to develop this site. But fortunately, we already have it Dockerized, so onboarding is relatively easy. Before we get there though, we need to understand Dockerfiles. Understanding Dockerfiles. In this video, we're going to understand Dockerfiles and their syntax, download and run a simple Dockerfile, and run up the resulting image as a container. When we're done, we'll be able to build our own images from the ground up using Dockerfile commands. A Dockerfile is a file that defines the commands needed to build an image. The idea behind them is that there's a simple to understand definition of how an image is built. It's not a configuration management tool, rather a universal reference for managing Docker builds. Here we're going to look at a simple example Dockerfile. Type git clone https://github.com/ianmile/simple-dockerfile.git. Then cd simple-dockerfile. Type ls, and we can see that this Git repository consists of one file, a Dockerfile with a capital D. Let's have a look at the Dockerfile. Type cat Dockerfile. We can see that there are 4 commands in this Dockerfile: from, maintainer, run, and command. From describes the image name we want to start the build from. Maintainer identifies the maintainer of the Dockerfile. This is metadata. It doesn't affect the content of the image itself. Run runs a command within the container to build the image as though you were running it in a shell. Note that if the command fails, that is, exits with a non-zero exit code, the Docker build will terminate. CMD, or command, defines the command that should be run when the image is run as a container. Let's build an image from this Dockerfile. We build our simple image by running the docker build command. Type docker build -t simple space dot. The build command tells Docker to build an image specified in the Dockerfile, located in the directory we supply as the last argument. In this case, that directory is the current one, dot. The -t is optional. This tags the resulting image for easier reference subsequently. To run this image, type docker run simple. And as you can see, it cats the file we put in the container as per the command line we gave the Dockerfile. And that's a complete build process using Dockerfiles. In this video, we've run our first Dockerfile, tagged the resulting image, and run the built and tagged image as a container. In the next video, we're going to perform the same process, but with a more complex Dockerfile with additional commands to build our web project.